So this video is a little bit of a different one for a few reasons. First, I will cover the main sort of news story, but also I'm going to cover why that news story is not the best of ideas and how we can spot news stories that don't exactly seem like they're based in any form of reality, because that's the general feeling I'm getting from this for a variety of reasons. And also, I'll talk a little bit about a request that I'm going to make of you guys. But in addition to that, another request, just subscribe to the channel. That'd be lovely. Thank you very much. Anyway, diving into it. Leeds United have, according to a range of reports from both news sources that are genuine and typically sort of verified, to your sort of standard clickbait stuff, reportedly got a little bit of an interest in Nick Pope, with some sources reporting that we've approached him, some reporting that we just have a little bit of an interest. But that seems to be a fairly big part of the conversation at the moment, with general sort of consensus being that there would be a roughly £8 million transfer fee if Leeds United were to aim to sign him. Now, the other day, I did a video on Carl Darlow and his future at Leeds United, and a few of the various different sort of issues with whether he would be staying, whether he would be going, and ultimately concluded that he's a decent goalkeeper, sure, but at the age that Carl Darlow is, there's not really a point in extending his contract, because he's not going to be the sort of player that you can build the club around for an extended period of time. My first major concern with a potential Nick Pope signing is the fact that we would bump into the exact same issue in a couple of years' time. Carl Darlow is, I believe, 36 years old at the moment, which is on the old side as a goalkeeper goes. Again, goalkeeping, not the easiest on the body. It bruises, it hurts, it stings. It's not a fantastically great time. It's fun, but it stings. Nick Pope is 34, which puts him absolutely very close on the tail of like Carl Darlow. And if you're talking about signing a new goalkeeper, you're going to do so on a several-year contract, which means that we would have Nick Pope for several years, and he would also want to be playing a significant amount of football. Because last season, he had 27 appearances, which is, fair enough, it's a decent amount of football, but he was also forced out by Aaron Ramsdale at a couple of points, which isn't exactly what you want to happen. If you want to be playing football as a goalkeeper, you want to be playing consistently. That sort of competition between keeper one and keeper two might be fine enough for the club if you think the two goalkeepers are good enough, but if you're not entirely certain, it can cause a few little bits of an issue. However, in addition to the sort of Nick Pope is on the older side part of the conversation, we need to also recognise that he is absolutely not within the profile of players that Leeds United are looking at the minute. Our current sort of strategy is sign players that are undervalued wherever they may be, that being playing internationally somewhere, free transfers from the Premier League, whatever it is, which Nick Pope absolutely is not. If you're spending £8 million on a 34-year-old goalkeeper, you're making a fairly colossal mistake. Got to remember that we also got Carl Darlow from Newcastle, and we paid reportedly £100,000 for him, as opposed to 80 times that much money. So it would absolutely not represent good value for money, and he also doesn't fit the sort of element of the strategy where we're signing players that are in the prime of their career. And let's be honest, in the prime of their career is all well and good, and if we were to sign in either direction from there, I imagine we're signing younger players that we can develop and become projects with, as opposed to veterans who are not going to be here for too long. And this entire thing has made me realise one thing that we need to talk about in this transfer window, and I will do so in a moment, because first I'm going to do a little bit of a plea to you guys. And said plea is that starting from some point later today, I'm going to start doing various bits of World Cup content, because the World Cup is here, and I said that I would cover it, and even though I didn't get the Zone 48 thing, which I was really sort of hopeful for, I'm still going to be doing stuff independently as part of this channel. I've got a fairly fun video on sort of the role of Harry Kane and how his style of play could prove to be a fairly big weakness for Leeds United. Not Leeds United, for England. Jesus, I'm very Leedsy in my channel. I'm noticing this now. But how that could be a little bit of a weakness for England rather than a significant strength for the side in the grand scheme of things. And it's all going to be sort of like larger topical stuff that I'm looking to discuss. So if you guys could also watch that as well as my lead stuff, that would be spectacular, because I really want this next month and a half or so to be successful, because it's quite nice to have a passion, do something related to it, and have it go quite well. Thank you. I would love to see you come along on that journey with me. Anyway, now we get on to the big thing that we all need to sort of learn based on this transfer window and based on the sort of general direction that news consumption is going, and that is how to find those completely empty, bogus, complete bollocks stories that continue to float around when it comes to a transfer window. Because again, this seems to have been something that was reported by one or two tabloid newspapers and was picked up by various different clickbait sites. And then they just rolled with it and they just went. And we shouldn't really be doing that as people who make content, and that's why I try to avoid sort of giving the wild stuff some of the more sort of serious bits of attention, and then when it comes to cases like this, I'm doing it as a sort of teaching moment of don't listen to it. But as a general rule of thumb, if someone is dropping a sources state that, make sure that they are someone who has previously dropped bits of news that are basically on point and accurate, because if you don't have that, then sources stating that could mean absolutely nothing. It's effectively worthless. Make sure that whatever sort of news you are reading and believing comes from something that is sort of corroborated in various different places, as another example. So for another case, several times I've seen various outlets report that Leeds United have put in a bid for X, Y, or Z player, when in The Athletic, Baron Cross will say something like, and Leeds had a look in January and have decided they're not going to in the summer. Readers will see the headline of Leeds have made a bid for X, Y, or Z and go, fantastic, wonderful. And then in the body of the article, it'll be like, Leeds did make a bid in January, now we're not interested. There's sort of spot those trends, spot the cleverness in wording, spot that kind of thing, and avoid it as much as you can. Read beyond the headline, read the actual text, make sure that you're looking at the more reliable of sources. So primarily, if you want someone that is absolutely spot on, you look to The Athletic. If you want someone else that's spot on, Graham Smith, brilliant. Adam Pope all over the place right now. Adam Pope also pretty much on point. And as a general rule of thumb, and I'm going to say this to any Leeds United fan, see what the Leeds View is saying, because he has a very good handle on what sources make sense and what sources do not make sense, and will report on them effectively daily, not on weekends, but that's fair enough, I get that. But yeah, anyway, that was a sort of don't get Nick Pope and also understand sources and also watch my World Cup stuff video. I'll have something else coming out later today, but I just thought I'd pop this out because you know what, I wanted to have a little bit of a talk to a camera for a bit. You've got to do that sometimes. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you did, pop a like on the video as normal. That'd be wonderful. Subscribe if you haven't. Become a channel member. All that fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later today, where I'll be having a fun little tactical talk about what England's biggest weakness at the World Cup is going to be and how we can fix it. Toodaloo.